Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Zilla Blitz, and this is a channel update for April 2020. I've been wanting to do this kind of a monthly channel update since I started creating YouTube content, and I thought now that I've been kind of AWOL for the past month, I thought this might be a good time to do so, both to kind of talk a little bit about where the channel's been, what's going on, and what's coming up. And the past month, March, was just crazy with work and all the stuff going on with the coronavirus. It just wasn't possible to create content on any kind of a basis. But I feel pretty good now that the craziness is done. Life has settled down, at least from a work perspective for me. And I feel like going forward, I'll be able to have both the energy and the time to start creating content again. So I'm really excited about that. And that's actually kind of one of the things that became apparent to me over the course of the past month when I wasn't able to create content, is the idea that I really enjoy making it. So it's been really fun to do, and I have every intention. I've really been looking forward to get back into it. I'm really excited now that I've got the energy and the brain space and the time again to kind of devote back to making content. So I'm looking forward to picking up where things left off. And it's kind of this episode really won't have a kind of a format to it. It's going to be a little bit rambling, kind of talking about a bunch of different things, but hopefully give a picture of what the channel is and then some thoughts on where it's going. Along those lines, if you do enjoy this type of an episode, likes would be greatly appreciated, as well as if you are new and want to keep up with things, a subscription is also greatly appreciated too. I would also like to ask if you have ideas on how to make these types of episodes better, like what kinds of things would be interesting for you to hear, as well as ideas, thoughts, feedback on how to improve the channel as a whole. I would love to hear that. I know there's a lot of people out there that are very talented at this, and I'm still very much learning how to do this and what to do. So I would love to hear your thoughts and comments and ideas in that area as well. But let's dig in a little bit. I thought to basically talk a little bit about where the channel's been and what it is. Started towards the end of September last year with this really bad series called Unintentional Journeyman, a Football Manager series using Football Manager 19. And took that for about a month and a half or so to the release of Football Manager 2020, where I started up really what's been the meat of the channel for the past few months, which is Devotion to Promotion. And that, of course, is a Football Manager 2020 series trying to take Nuneaton Borough from the bottom of British football all the way to the top in the Premier League. That's been a super fun series to do, and I've been really enjoyed it. And one of the things I'm looking forward to is digging back into that again. A second series that I started in January is called The Year of Game Design, and that's basically where I document my attempt to learn game development for 30 minutes a day over the course of the year, kind of a game development journal, if you would. And so those are the two things I've been making. And I thought I'd share a little bit of kind of some of the numbers now behind the channel, and then talk a little bit about where I'm thinking to go forward in terms of taking this. I've had a lot of time to kind of think about things over the past month and kind of consider about what kind of shifts and changes I might like to make as I go forward. So let's jump in and take a look at some of the numbers here now. Here is basically the YouTube channel thing that I get when I log into. And you can see there's some red here because I've discovered, surprise, not making content leads to less viewing. Yeah, so surprise, surprise. We currently sit at 83 subscribers. I think actually before I stopped making content, it was at 82, and then it went up to 84, and then I released a video yesterday, and he immediately went down by 1. So there you go. Apparently making content doesn't work as well either. But if we look here at the series, we can kind of get an idea of how things have been going. You can see the blue ones here are the Year of Game Design, and then the kind of the off yellow ones, or Devotion to Promotion, are the Football Manager series. The Year of Game Design doesn't get a ton of views, and I don't necessarily expect it to. That's very, very much a niche type of thing. I imagine that's the interest level for that is relatively small in terms of how many people are interested in game development and seeing someone learn game development. But it does help me stay focused, so I intend to kind of continue, of course, making those going forward. Generally, they range anywhere from the single digits, 8s there and stuff like that. Here's another 8. Up to here, this one got 22 or so. So generally falling in that kind of high single digits to teens in terms of views and stuff like that. So very, 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 very small. But kind of be expected. It's also somewhat of a new series too. Devotion to Promotion generally does quite a bit better than that. Still, by any measure of good, it's still very, very small in terms of number of views. But, you know, generally in the 20s, high 20s and 30s. Here's a low of 23. I think there's a high of something like 56 here for one of them. So generally in that 20s, 30s, 40s range in terms of views. And I feel it does get good likes. So I feel like from that perspective, people who are finding it tend to be enjoying it. So that's been a super fun thing to see. And the comments have always been really fun to read. It seems like the people that are watching it are finding it fun and enjoyable to watch. So that's good. And I think that kind of reflects a little bit if we look at the analytics here too. Now, interesting enough, this was funny. I was looking at this before I created this video. It says, looking good, your channel got 317 views in the last 28 days, which is about the same as usual. I'm thinking, that doesn't make any sense at all because I haven't released anything. So how is it getting the same as usual? And here's the reason. There's this little video called Tetris Clone Work in Progress. So I was doing a game development course where you had to make a Tetris clone about a year and a half ago, way before I started this channel. And I made this little 17-second clip of that gameplay. And for whatever reason, in the past 28 days, that's got 243 views, which is 10 times as much as anything else on the channel. I have no idea why. So it's a 17-second clip that's accomplishing. That's probably 80% of the views that are there. Sometimes YouTube is just baffling. I mean, how does this stuff get found? It sat there for a year and a half. I don't think anybody ever watched it. And all of a sudden, 250 people watched this 17-second video. So whatever reason that is, that's kind of, I thought, just an interesting, fun science story there too. But if we look at some of the other numbers in terms of engagement and things like that, average view duration I always consider to be kind of interesting. And if we look at the past 28 days, I think a lot of them, because it's that 17-second video, we've got like 14 seconds, 18 seconds. I mean, just horrible view durations and well down, 86% down over the previous 28 days, whereas it was 7 minutes. But, and we can see that also here, and if we look at the last 90 days, where right up until the middle of this graph or so, this is where I kind of stopped making content. We had kind of 7s and 8s and maybe 10s and 12s in terms of average view duration, which I feel like is, it feels, I guess, I don't know that much about what that means, but it feels like it should be okay. And then once I stopped making content and people started watching the 17-second Tetris video, it just collapses way down here into like the few seconds and stuff. And the average, even all things considered, it's 6 minutes and 13 seconds down from 8 over the previous 90 days. So it'd be nice to come back, make some new stuff, and get those numbers up a little bit there too. In terms of kind of goals and things like that, where I'm hoping to get with this, it would be nice to, I'd love to hit 100 subscribers in the next month or so. That's been kind of, not that I really care that much about that number in general. I don't necessarily think that's a direct reflection of making cool stuff that people like, but it is nice to see that number go up, and it is kind of a metric that is meaningful to the channel. So that would be a fun thing to reach as I go forward. But so that's a little bit of where it is. I feel like it's obviously, and this is kind of one of the things I think about the Football Manager world, is that the Football Manager videos, I think, are doing fairly well for people that are finding them. People that are finding them seem to be enjoying them. The tricky part, and this is kind of what I'd like to talk a little bit as we go forward, the tricky part with the Football Manager content is that it's a very crowded field. And there's some really, really, really good people out there. So there's so much to pick from. And a lot of it are kind of established viewers. People go to the people they've watched for a long time before. So I find it's very challenging, I think, to break into that. And you're seeing kind of incremental growth, but wow, it's super slow to kind of move that needle a little bit. And, you know, having said that, so that's kind of one of the questions is, okay, what to do going forward? And I would like to kind of grow the channel and make it a little bit bigger and kind of have more people. That would be fun, of course. And the other thing with devotion to promotion that I've been thinking about is that it's super time consuming to make. I mean, Football Minute, to make an episode 3 weeks, it's pretty much I can do that, or I can do that and nothing else, or I could do other things and kind of thing. So I'm trying to think a little bit about, not wording this very well, but I'm trying to think about how to do this going forward. And the 3 different ways I was thinking about. One would be to stop the devotion to promotion series and explore other avenues. I'm very interested in exploring game telling within storytelling within the idea of game develop, with the idea of games and things like that. I also like strategy games and a lot of different types of games. So I'm very interested in exploring that. Having said that, I really like making the Football Manager content. I really like playing Football Manager. It's one of my favorite games, and I've had a great time getting to know the community and building it up like that. So part of me wants to try something new. Part of me wants to stick with what I'm doing. So I'm thinking going forward for April, what I'm going to do is to try to continue producing Football Manager, the Devotion to Promotion series, on a semi-regular basis, maybe taking it down to 1 to 2 episodes a week. So I'm continuing to produce content because I don't want to stop that. First of all, I want to kind of hear how that story is going to end. It's at a really interesting stage now in terms of the team getting promoted to Division 1, to League 1, having the lowest budget in the league and having really no players that can play at that level. It's going to be a super challenging and fun season. So I'm looking forward to digging back into that. And I don't want to stop it because I feel like it's important to finish the things I start. So from that perspective, I want to keep going. It's really fun and all those things. But I do also want to try to explore some other things to see if it can bring some more people into the channel, to try storytelling with games with some different types of events and different types of games and things like that. So that's the rough plan going forward. If you have ideas and thoughts on what would be good directions to take things or things you'd like to see, I'd love to hear them. Really open to trying a lot of different things with this, is kind of learn about creating content centered around games and telling stories with that. Going forward, I have had an idea, and I've been working around it in the last couple of days, which is there's a game called Panzer Corps, which allows you to take over the leadership of the Allied or the German forces in World War II. It's very much a two-dimensional type of war game, beer and pretzels type of war game. And basically, there's scenarios where you start out at the beginning of the war and you take their troops all the way through to the end of the war, and you can lose and end the game's over, or you can go all the way through and kind of win the war and things like that. So I was screwing around with that. I actually put together a little bit of a YouTube thumbnail for that, and I've got an idea and some kind of ideas for how to start that off. So I think I'm actually going to start that up this weekend. So kind of a new series, a new Let's Play, probably about anywhere from 10 to 40 episodes, using the Panzer Corps game engine. I'm going to take over as the Allied commander in 1940 and see if I can go all the way to Berlin at the end of the war and defeat the Germans in Berlin. So I think that'll be kind of fun. It's going to be kind of a different thing to try, and hopefully maybe people here watching this would be interested to give that a look-see. So I'm thinking about doing that, thinking about kind of continuing on Devotion to Promotion. The Year of Game Design one is really easy to make, and I want to do that just for my kind of own personal documentation reasons. So I'm thinking to continue those up on a weekly basis, and that's what I'm hoping to do over the course of the next month, and then hopefully make another episode like this and reevaluate and things like that. And I think in a nutshell, that's pretty much everything I was hoping to say. And as always, thanks very much for people who come by and giving this a watch and have watched and supported the videos and supported the channel in so many different ways. I know people have been tweeting stuff out and all that kind of stuff, so it's really cool to see. It's been so much fun to do this stuff and get to know the community, and I'm really excited to be back and to start making new stuff. It's been a really tough month, and it feels good to now feel like I have the time and the mental space to be able to come back and start creating content again. I don't like to stop things I start, and so I'm looking forward to getting back at it. With that in mind, if you've enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to keep up with all the stuff that's going on at the channel, please consider subscribing as well. And once again, I would love to hear people's thoughts and feedback on both the nature of this episode, which I realize isn't for everybody, and then also just kind of ideas on what might be some fun things to do with the channel too. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.